everyone, it's Daria, and welcome to the start of my Smut-a-thon reading vlog. It is around 4:30 p.m. on Monday, January 6th, so I am getting a bit of a late start. I have been doing some reading off camera, so let me jump in and tell you guys my TBR and the progress that I've made so far. So for Enemies to Lovers, I chose Pretty Reckless by LJ Shen. This is a spin-off of her Sinners of Saints series, and it follows all of the children of the characters from her previous books. This is the first book in that series, and I'm going to be honest, even though I haven't heard great things about this one, I am purely reading it because the main character has the exact same name as me. Wish fulfillment, yes, thank you very much, I will take that. The next prompt is a 2019 release. I had a lot of variety and a lot of choices with this one, but I decided to go with the guy on the right. This book follows Teddy, whose college roommate is insanely attractive, insanely popular, and is basically the star of campus. Things take a turn for the worst when this roommate starts to take an interest in Teddy's new girlfriend. This book intrigues me because it seems so different from all of the college romances that I've read before. Oftentimes it's the popular guy, the football star, the hockey athlete, all of them and their romances and them getting the girl. So it's a nice change of pace to see someone who might be considered a background character in any of those other books take the leading man role in this one. The next prompt is all about and all for the gays, and for this one I've chosen Wolf Song by TJ Klune. One of my closest friends, Solomon, absolutely adores this book, and that is one of the reasons that I'm picking this up. But another very important reason is that there's werewolves in this book, okay? Werewolves. Next up, to cover the bases of a new to you author and forbidden romance, I've chosen to read The Unrequited by Saffron A. Kent. This book follows a young woman, Layla, who is absolutely obsessed with her poetry professor. He is married, so there's that, and apparently they end up kissing one night, and I don't know what happens after that, but I have a feeling her obsession will only grow stronger. It's giving me like Joe Goldberg vibes, and I think it'd be very interesting to read about that from the perspective of a woman. The next category is recommended to you, and for that I've chosen Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. One of my best friends, Chandler, is absolutely in love with this book. She's told me about it so many times. She's mentioned it so many times on her channel, so I thought, why the hell not? Let me read it. This book follows Misha and Ryan, who have been pen pals ever since they were paired together during a school assignment. One night, for the first time, they end up meeting one another face to face, but Misha is the only one who is aware that the other person is their pen pal. Misha ends up attending Ryan's school and discovers that she is not at all who she's portrayed herself to be all these years. To fulfill the category of fake dating / marriage, I've chosen to read Marriage for One by Ella Mays. I don't know anything about this book besides the fact that I am very, very intrigued by the cover. Apparently this girl Rose just gets called into her boss's office one day and he randomly proposes to her, and I guess she says yes. So there you have it, my entire TBR. I did leave out the workplace romance and the out of your comfort zone categories just because I feel like 6 books is really enough for me. I don't even know if I'll be able to get through all 6 of them this week. As I mentioned, I have already actually made some progress. For the last 2 days and a half about, I have been listening to the audiobook for Punk 57 and I finished it today and I absolutely loved it. The synopsis that I provided for Punk 57 really doesn't do the book justice. There are so many more twists in the book than I ever could have imagined. The characters are just really entertaining and fun to read about, and the romance is just so good. And I just think watching Misha and Ryan's dynamic for a long time there, they are pure enemies. I feel like so often when people write about or talk about enemies to lovers in contemporary romances, it's all very tame. But Misha and Ryan, the things that they would do to one another, what they would say about one another, it was pretty wild. It was a lot. And let me say that it definitely fueled all of their personal scenes together. It was great. It was the most entertained I think I've ever been by a romance novel in so long. It was just fun. You know? I'm hella into angst, okay? I love unrequited love, I love mutual pining, I'm into all of that, but sometimes it's nice to just sit there and read something a little bit silly, something that's fun, something that's going to keep you turning the page, and that is just exactly what this book was. So I'm starting off this readathon very strong, and let's hope that I can keep that momentum. And so far I have been. I am currently listening to the audiobook for Wolf Song, and I am enjoying it so much. I'm about 3 hours in, and Ox, the main character, has only just discovered that this new family that has moved in down the street that he is so close to are in fact werewolves. I'm feeling good about my momentum. Is that a word? That's a word, right? I have to actually look it up. Momentum? Momentum. It is a word! I promise I'm an English major, I promise. Anyway, it's time for me to stop talking and actually do what I'm here to do and get on with the reading portion of this vlog. and I've put a pretty sizable dent into the Wolfsong audiobook. I am about a third of the way through, and I am loving this book so much. I think this book might even beat Punk 57 for me. Like, I know that's a pretty bold statement. There's a lot that can go wrong in the next 2/3 of this book, but I just love it. So I don't know how much you guys know about werewolf romance, but there's this whole mating situation that's going on at the moment. The two main characters are going through regular human courtship and at the same time have this kind of animal instinctual desire for each other that they're trying to fight off because everybody around them in their pack can feel it. And that scenario just makes for so many hilarious situations. I had plans to start The Guy on the Right tonight, but honestly, you guys, I am just so entrenched in this story that I can't let it go. I'm just gonna continue to listen to my audiobook and update you guys when I can. Hello, it is currently 9:56 p.m. on Tuesday, January the 7th. Today I had a fairly busy day. I did a lot of driving and just taking care of stuff around the house. That allowed me ample time to listen to the Wolfsong audiobook. I just, gosh diddly darn, love this book so much. World building and the way that the pack dynamic works and the sort of connection between all of the betas and their alpha is just something very interesting, and it just makes for such great relationships. Basically, everyone in the pack has a very intimate connection with the alpha, and I don't necessarily mean that in like a sexual way. I know that when people say intimacy, they tend to just veer towards romantic, but the love and the care and devotion and loyalty that all of these people have to both their alpha and to one another is just so refreshing to read about. Every single character that is in this novel, whether they show up for one page or they've been there since the beginning, they are so well written, so complex, so enjoyable to read about. There is one event and decision that is made at the halfway point of this novel that just completely changes the trajectory of every single character's arc and every single relationship. It has created the most delicious angst between the two main characters and the primary couple. No, what is it?
Nothing, just wanted to say goodnight.
Okay.
Are you in the middle of the movie?
I am, it's recording.
Is it recording?
It
Right?
is.
Okay.
Bye. My dad. It is currently 10:25 p.m. on Thursday, January 8th, and I have completed my second book of the readathon. You guys, I am riding a reading high currently. So I finished Wolfsong, and I can easily say, without a doubt, that it is one of my favorite books of the year. In fact, let me be so bold as to say that this is probably going to be one of my favorite books of the decade, and we're only 8 days into it. The writing style is addicting. It's poignant, it's beautiful, but it's also short and sweet and to the point. I feel like main characters in novels, they are often either completely disliked or people just don't have any really strong feelings for them either way. But let me just say that I have never felt so absolutely attached to a main character and their personal journey in so long. Ox starts off the book being abandoned by his father, leading this isolated existence. He doesn't have a lot of friends. Ox has internalized the message from his father and from the world around him that he is really not going to amount to anything in life and he should just prepare himself for failure and hurt. Getting to see him move from that point in his life to where he ends up at the end of this novel, which I don't want to spoil for you guys, it was a privilege. It was an honor. It was the greatest thing. So if I was afraid at the start of this vlog and this readathon of everything going a bit too well for me, right now, I'm terrified. I am just crossing my fingers that I can keep this train moving, I can keep this momentum going, and keep reading books that I end up loving. I'm about 260 pages into the ebook of Marriage for One, and so far, I'm really enjoying it. I realized that I got pretty much everything wrong about the synopsis of this book when I initially introduced it at the start of this video. Rose and Jack get entangled in this fake marriage plotline because Rose's grandfather wrote in his will that he was going to leave a very lucrative property to Rose's future husband. Now, at the time that he wrote this, Rose was engaged to somebody, but now she no longer is. Rose wanted to make that space a coffee shop, which has always been her dream. And so Jack, a very successful lawyer, goes to her and says, hey, I'll be your husband, I'll get the property, I'll let you use it, we'll do this whole thing for 2 years, and then we'll break up. So that's the situation that they are currently in, and of course, some feelings of attraction are sneaking their way in there. It's enjoyable, it's fun, it's fluffy, I'm liking it. So right now, I'm just going to jump back into Marriage for One and see if I can keep this streak going. because it is currently past midnight on Friday, January 10th. I am on page 585 of the ebook, and it's not going badly, but at the same time, it's not going very well. Honestly, I think I might have done myself a disservice by picking up this book after Punk 57 and Wolf Song. To move on from those very high intensity type romances to now reading a more subdued, mutual pining, slow burn contemporary romance, it's a bit of a jolting shift. Rose and Jack have good chemistry. There's nothing wrong with the way that the story is written, but like I said, I think this is just kind of bad timing for reading this book, especially because I enjoyed those other books so much and read them so quickly. It is a little disappointing that this one isn't capturing my attention in the same way. That being said, I still want to finish it, so I'm going to try to read as much as I can. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this tonight, but I definitely see myself being able to complete it tomorrow. Okay, so it is currently 11:15 p.m. I finished Marriage for One, and I have to say, it really was the epitome of a 3-star read. It was not amazing, but it wasn't terrible either. Throughout the entire book, there is this sort of teasing of the real reason why Jack decided to marry Rose and offered her that agreement. And it's posed as if it's this huge thing that's going to break them up, but then when it's all finally revealed, it barely causes any angst or tension, they're over it and they're having sex in a matter of 2 chapters. And I don't know why, but there was just something about Jack that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm very used to the young, rich, handsome, aloof, doesn't show his feelings type guy in romance novels. They're a dime a dozen. So I don't know why this time in this book particularly I was so irritated by him, but I was. So earlier today I picked up the audiobook for Kate Stewart's The Guy on the Right, and I think my worst fears are confirmed. The books that I'm reading are just declining in quality and my enjoyment of them. Usually when I read new adult romance, I don't need to emotionally connect with the character or see myself represented by some part of their personality or experience. I'm okay to just be entertained and enjoy a character. I am neither enjoying nor being entertained by Teddy or Lainey or their relationship. There's also one thing about this book in particular that just was so, I don't even know what to think about it. There's a scene where all the characters go to a party and Lainey is dressed up as Medea, as in Tyler Perry's Medea. It's so uncomfortable. I was so wildly uncomfortable listening to this. So that, coupled with the fact that I'm just not really interested or intrigued by either of the characters, they're not really holding my attention, is kind of making me wonder if I should just DNF this and move on to something else. We'll see. I'm gonna sleep on it. I'm gonna see what I think. But at the moment, things are not looking too promising for The Guy on the Right. It is currently the afternoon on Sunday, January 12th, so now I'm going to wrap up all the books that I read, what I thought of them, what I rated them. We started off strong with Punk 57. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was just so much fun, and it was so entertaining to watch enemies to lovers in a contemporary setting that really actually felt charged. I've mentioned this before, but I feel like a lot of times in contemporary novels, it's really just rivals to lovers. Maybe they're competing for the same position, maybe they just think the other person's an asshole, but it's never really high stakes. In Punk 57, it felt like high stakes. I will say that some of the behavior that's exhibited and the things that the main couple says to one another can definitely be deemed problematic, and I totally understand that and totally get that. But it didn't really put me off so much to the point that I couldn't enjoy the novel. And it was just kind of fun to read, honestly, because both of them were dishing out and taking insults and just trying their best to get on the other person's nerves and really piss off the other one. I don't know if this is deemed dark romance, but I'm gonna kind of say that it is a very mild dark romance. And I enjoyed it, so maybe that's a positive sign that I should read more darker romances. So then I moved from one amazing read to another amazing read and read Wolf Song. I gave this 4.5 or 5 stars, I can't remember exactly. This book was just such a well-told, well-executed story. The bonds and relationships between all the members of the pack, the main romance, the development of every single character, most especially especially the main character Ox, all of it was just practically perfect. So then my luck changed by reading Marriage for One. I think I gave this 3 stars. Moving from Punk 57 and Wolf Song that all featured very intense, angsty romances, I felt like the stakes weren't high. Like, it was just regular, everyday problems. I mean, not entirely, unless you know somebody who got fake married to someone else. But you get what I mean. It just wasn't really on par with the previous books, and that's why I rated it lower and just struggled to get through it and enjoy it. And then finally, yesterday, I finished The Guy on the Right, and I gave it 3 stars. Similarly to Marriage for One, I was struggling a lot with this one. I couldn't relate to either of the characters. I was getting kind of bored of them. They started to become more interesting and intriguing around the time that they got together, but it kind of sucks because the build up to them coming together and finally becoming a couple is kind of the whole point of romance. You want to be invested in them, and I just wasn't. And like I mentioned, there was that super uncomfortable, unnecessary, just what the fuck scene at that Halloween party where a main character dressed up as and impersonated Medea. I don't think I'm going to be continuing with this series, 1, because I didn't really enjoy the first book, and 2, because I'm not too excited by the main character of the next book. The next book focuses on Troy, which is this main character's roommate. The entire book, he just seems like an absolute asshole, but then at the end we find out, spoilers by the way, that he is a child. And apparently the next book, I'm sure, is going to be all about that, and I don't care. So there you have it, the 4 books that I read this week. It is much less than I wanted to read and much less than I was supposed to read. But you know what? That's fine, because at least I participated, and that's what I'm going to tell myself. So that's it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know if you participated in this round of the Smut-a-thon and what you read. All of my social media links are in the description below, so check those out if you would like. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!